Hey detectives! Welcome back. We've got another mysterious case to explore. The case of Jasmine Kaur. Jasmine Kaur, an Indian girl, was born on September 14, 1999. She is the eldest daughter of Rashel Kaur. Jasmine later had two younger twin brothers named German and Suku. When Jasmine was 6 years old, her father Rashel Kaur passed away. The family had to face many difficulties to overcome this pain. In 2017, Jasmine was 18 years old and decided to start a new journey. She came to Australia with her relatives to seek new opportunities. Jasmine's uncle, who lived in Adelaide with his wife and daughter, moved in with them. Because of her love of learning and desire to help others, Jasmine enrolled at the University of South Australia. After completing her exams, she enrolled in a nursing program. Apart from studying, Jasmine also takes on the responsibility of cooking for her family. She cooks very well. Jasmine has proven herself to be a responsible and diligent woman. Jasmine grew up in a good educational environment. She always kept in touch with her family, especially her mother and close relatives, sharing details of her daily life. To gain practical experience, Jasmine took a job at a nursing home in the suburbs of Adelaide before completing her medical studies. At the same time, a young man named Tarakjot Singh, born in 1999 in a village in the state of Punjab, India. Tarakjot had a younger brother named Mohan Singh. Tarakjot's father often resolved conflicts in the family in a very brutal way. So the atmosphere in Tarakjot's house was often very tense and made both brothers feel scared. Tarakjot is known for his kindness and success, always willing to help people around him. At school, he was an excellent student. In 2016, when Tarakjot finished his studies, his grandparents tried to save a small amount of money to help him move to Australia. Finally, Tarakjot moved to the beautiful city of Adelaide. Tarakjot passed the English test, a necessary requirement for admission to the University of South Australia. At that time, he was faced with many choices about his direction and field of study. In the end, he decided to pursue information technology and aimed to get a bachelor's degree. In addition to studying, Tarakjot also had to work to support himself. Tarakjot tried many different jobs, mainly related to caring for the elderly. His colleagues loved and respected him, and employers appreciated his honesty and kindness. Over time, Tarakjot achieved much success. Eventually, he saved up enough money to buy his own apartment on the outskirts of the city. There, Tarakjot befriended a young man named Edwin. In 2018, Jasmine and Tarakjot met for the first time. Tarakjot and Jasmine were colleagues at their part-time job. Their relationship quickly developed into love. Tarakjot he identified Jasmine as the person he wanted to build a family life with. However, as time passed, Tarakjot gradually became jealous. He began to suspect Jasmine. He asked Jasmine to report her activities in detail, controlled her every move, and became jealous when she met friends after work. Tarakjot became too controlling in his relationship with Jasmine. Tarakjot kept calling and making baseless accusations. Jasmine felt that she could not bear this kind of life, so Jasmine confided in her mother about these problems. The mother knew and did not approve of their relationship. Tarakjot remained unchanged and believed that his thinking was correct. Tarakjot bought a ring to propose to Jasmine in October 2020, although he felt that Tarakjot was jealous and controlling. Jasmine still accepted his proposal. Jasmine began to feel insecure when Tarakjot unexpectedly appeared at her workplace. Although Jasmine was very happy to have just experienced the feeling of being proposed to, Jasmine began to doubt Tarakjot's actions. Realizing that the relationship was negatively affecting her mental and emotional health, Jasmine decided to end the relationship. On January 4, 2021, Jasmine informed Tarakjot that they had to break up. However, Tariq Jat threatened her that if she left him, he would end his life. The next day, Jasmine saw Tariq Jat watching her from the window during break time, which made her increasingly worried about her safety. Jasmine spoke to Tariq Jat and he again begged her to stay, but she was determined to break up. At this point, Tariq Jat began threatening to harm himself and insisted that Jasmine would be responsible for everything that happened to him. That same night, Jasmine learned that he had taken a large amount of sleeping pills. Jasmine immediately contacted a neighbor of Tariq Jat's in the apartment building, who took Tariq Jat to the hospital. At the hospital, Tariq Jat wrote a letter claiming that he had committed suicide because Jasmine had decided to break up with him, as her family forbade their relationship. The next morning, January 6, 2021, a psychiatrist examined Tariq Jat but found no signs of mental illness. After being discharged from the hospital, Tariq Jat went to Jasmine's house. Tariq Jat said that he needed to talk to Jasmine about an important matter. And Tariq Jat tried to convince Tariq Jat to come back to him. However, this attempt failed again when Jasmine refused. In desperation, Tariq Jat threatened to make public a private video of them to Jasmine's family. Faced with Jasmine's indifference, Tariq Jat eventually sent the video to her mother. Shocked, Jasmine's mother Harpreet Kaur contacted her daughter. Harpreet was furious when she received the video. Tariq Jat then went to Jasmine's workplace the next day. Tariq Jat stood by his car and patiently waited for Jasmine to leave work. Although Jasmine ignored him and left, Tariq Jat followed her in his car. But suddenly stopped, letting Jasmine go home. However, that night, Jasmine could not sleep well. The pressure from Tariq Jat increased and he kept threatening to share her private video with more people if she did not return to him immediately. January 28, 2021. Jasmine could not bear it anymore. She officially reported Tariq Jat's harassment to the police. The police recorded every detail of their relationship. Due to the seriousness of the case, the police conducted an investigation and met Tariq Jat on February 9 to find out the situation. A few days later, Tariq Jat attempted suicide again but was fortunately discovered by a neighbor in time. In the hospital, he explained that he could not face the breakup and asked to be discharged. His request was accepted and he was discharged. However, after being discharged, Tariq Jat began taking medication prescribed by a doctor to treat depression, anxiety, and agitation. But at the same time, thoughts of harming Jasmine became stronger in his mind. On March 4, 2021, Tariq Jat collected information about the locations of most of the surveillance cameras in Adelaide. The next day, Tariq Jat used another phone and left it at home to create an alibi. To avoid detection, Tariq Jat borrowed a neighbor's blue Jeep. On the same day, Tariq Jat went to a hardware store to buy necessary items, including gloves, cable ties, and a shovel. However, Tariq Jat did not know that his every move was monitored and recorded by the store's surveillance camera. Tariq Jat then drove to Jasmine's workplace and waited for her to finish work at around 10 p.m. When she stepped out onto a deserted street, Tariq Jat suddenly attacked, grabbed Jasmine's arm and dragged her into the car. Tariq Jat covered Jasmine's mouth and eyes, tied her hands and feet and drove to a deserted location. He then put her in the boot of the car and continued driving to another city, nearly 400 kilometers away from Adelaide. Along the entire route, from 10:30 p.m. to 3:30 a.m., 5 city surveillance cameras recorded him using the car. When he reached a deserted location, Tariq Jat got out of the car and began digging a shallow grave near the road. Then Tariq Jat opened the trunk of the car and tried to stab Jasmine in the throat with a knife, causing minor injuries. Next, Tariq Jat pushed Jasmine into the grave and began burying her alive. All of this happened in the early hours of March 6. After burying Jasmine, Tariq Jat got back into the car and drove away. Along the way, he discarded Jasmine's belongings along with the remaining rope, tape, and other items. He also discarded his gloves and hood at a location known as the Death Rock. That same day, Jasmine's family became worried when she did not return home. When she failed to show up for work, with no news of Jasmine, her relatives contacted the police and filed the missing person report. During the investigation into Jasmine's disappearance, police reviewed surveillance footage from Jasmine's workplace and discovered surveillance video from the night before showing a man near the building who had been driving toward another city for most of the morning. In an effort to identify the suspect, police issued a public appeal for anyone with information about a man in his 20s who had been in contact with Jasmine or nearby in the days before she went missing. On March 7th, police met with Tariq Jat to question him about previous police reports of stalking. Tariq Jat initially denied any involvement in Jasmine's disappearance. However, he later told police that he and Jasmine had argued and she had attempted suicide. Tariq Jat claimed that Jasmine died after she passed out and he buried her in a remote location. Tariq Jat was later arrested and led police to the place where he had buried Jasmine. Jasmine's body was found under 30 centimeters of sand. Jasmine's hands were tied behind her back, her legs were tied with cable ties, and her eyes and mouth were covered. The cut on Jasmine's throat was only a superficial wound. An autopsy was performed. During interrogation, inconsistencies in Tariq Jat's testimony led to his arrest. The autopsy revealed that Jasmine was alive when she was buried and that the cause of death was lack of air. These findings shed light on the horrific nature of the case. On March 8, 2021, Tariq Jat was charged with murder and remanded in pretrial detention. Tariq Jat's first appearance in the Supreme Court was scheduled for March 2022. However, Tariq Jat fell ill. Instead, Tariq Jat's lawyer appeared and pleaded not guilty. The trial was adjourned until February 6, 2023. On February 6, 2023, Tariq Jat publicly admitted in the Adelaide Supreme Court that he had kidnapped Jasmine with the intention of killing her. 5 months later, on July 5, 2023, in the Supreme Court of South Australia, the judge sentenced Tariq Jat to life imprisonment with a non-parole period of 22 years and 10 months. Tariq Jat could be eligible for parole after this period. However, if released, the defendant would have to leave the country.